Hi guys, so we are officially working on section 3, which is on the third page of our Math Connections document. So for section 3, what we're going to do is we're going to actually create a graph. We're going to have to go back to section 1 to get all of our data. We need to graph the speed and the kinetic energy. We don't have to graph the mass, only because the mass stays the same. So we made that in the experiment not really a variable. That was just a control. We kept that exactly the same so that we could just see how does speed affect kinetic energy. So the directions say create a line graph that represents the relationship between speed and kinetic energy in experiment 1, which is section 1. Make sure to give the graph a title and label the x and y axes, including units. Remember that in this experiment, mass is constant. Then what you're going to do is copy and paste the graph below or copy and paste the link to your graph. Okay, first thing I am actually going to do is I'm going to scroll back up on my document here. The reason I'm scrolling back up is because my data is from that first experiment. So I have to go back all the way to the top to page 1. And up at the top, that is where all my data is that I'm going to use to put into my graph. Now, you've made graphs before. We have already made graphs in class, so this is not entirely new. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to open up a new tab. So if you look at the top of my screen where my mouse is, I have to click New Tab. Then what I'm going to do, and you might have a different way of getting here that might be faster than the way that I do it, but I usually go to my drive. I go to New, and I click on Google Sheets. This is where I get my spreadsheet. This is where I can enter in all of my data, and then I can change it into a line graph format. So I already have one pulled up that I'm going to work on. So that is just showing you how to get there. I'm going to exit out of that. And then I already have one that I've started that I'm going to walk you through. However, it might be a lot easier for you if you do, again, where you split screen. You don't have to do this step. I just find it personally easier when I have to enter in a lot of data. Instead of flipping back and forth, I can just use the split screen to see both screens at one time. If you have 2 monitors at home, you can also do the same kind of thing. However, I don't have access to that right now. So I have my screen split. On the one side of the screen, I have my data, and then the other side I have my Excel spreadsheet or my Google Sheets that I'm going to use. First thing I want to do is at the top, I want to change the title. I want this to be called Math Connections Kinetic Energy. You can just call it kinetic energy. You can call it kinetic energy graph. You could call it experiment 1 kinetic energy graph, because you are going to have to make another one for the second section of this. Next thing I want to do is I want to click in my A1 box. That's that first box that's at the top. And I want to type in speed, and then I want to put my units, which is meters per second. Then in my B1 box, right next to it, I want to type in kinetic energy, and I want to type in joules. At any point in time, the cool thing about these videos is that you can pause, you can go do this, and then you can come back to the video. Or you can watch the whole video, and then you can come back to it later, or you can rewind or just review the steps that you need. That's what's really actually nice about having a video and doing things online. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to type in all of your speeds. So you have to go back to your actual data, and you're going to type in, and I think I actually have a typo here. You are going to type in all of your speeds. Again, this would be an awesome time for you to pause and go type all of these in. You can try to copy and paste. I have not tried it myself. Actually, let's see what happens if we do that. So I'm just going to highlight all these. I like to press Control C to copy, and I'm just going to do it underneath here and see if it actually works. So, perfect example. This is not going to work for your data in this format. I want to try another thing to show you. This put it all in one cell, meaning it put it all in one box, specifically A10. I can't do that if I want to actually create a graph. So you can't just put it all into this one box. That will not work when you're creating your graph. What I do want to do is, what if I highlight some of these and then I press Control V? So I'm not sure if that would work. You could give it a try, but it still might not work for you. I would personally, what I did when I was creating this, was I went through and I actually just typed it in by hand. I have some extra time on my hand, so I did that. Otherwise, you could just copy and paste the numbers and put them into each box. I just want to kind of troubleshoot some of the things that you might see when you're doing this. So I would personally, you can take each number and then copy it into each cell, but they have to be in those individual cells, those individual boxes for this to work. Then what you're going to go do is you need to type in all of your kinetic energy. So you're going to have to go back to the work that you did earlier this week and type in your kinetic energy. Once you have all of your data typed in, you are then going to highlight all of the cells where your data is. Notice that these numbers, my speed, they don't have any letters after them. I don't have my units. I only have my numbers. We only want to have numbers in these boxes. So we're going to highlight that whole area here. Then you're going to go to Insert and you're going to go to Chart. Insert Chart. Now mine's going to look funny because I don't have all of my data in. Actually, this was a bad example. So this actually gave me a bar graph, which I do not want a bar graph. I actually want a line graph. So I'm going to delete this chart, and I have access to control it by going over to the little lines over here and pressing delete chart. So let me type in some data here. So what if I just do, this is obviously not the correct answers. So don't type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want to see if this will give me the correct information. Okay, so I highlighted it. I'm going to go to Insert Chart. There we go. So now you're going to see that this gave me, I'm going to exit out of this. Got it. This actually gave me a line graph. Speed is at the bottom on my x-axis, and then I have kinetic energy going at the top. Now yours should not say 1, 2, 3, 4. You should use your data from the actual data table from what you calculated out. Then what you have to do is that you can go over to these 3 boxes at the top right hand corner of your chart, and you can then go to Copy Chart, and then you can paste it in your Math Connections. You can scroll all the way down to your section 3, and you can then paste your chart. All I do is press Control V, and then it says link to spreadsheet or paste unlinked. Link it to your spreadsheet. That way I can go see. I can click on your chart when you're working too, and that way I can help you. If you link the chart, I'll have access to it too, and then I can work hand in hand with you if something isn't working right. Because as you can see, it's kind of finicky when you're putting in your data. So then I'm going to paste, and there's my chart in there. It has a title. It has the titles on the axes, and then it also has the units. All right. Let me know if you need help with anything.